Ta-da! You guys, it is
Hello.
4 weeks. Matthew and I were just catching up because it's been a little bit of that spring break for us. A lot of business, a lot of travel, personal, professional updates and things as we revamp. But it's spring, and we had to come back to catch you guys up for the end of February. Is it the end of February? Holy cow.
Yep.
That's crazy. I can't
2 more days.
I'm trying to do the connect to comment. So if it glitches me out here on Astrology and Alchemy, you'll see me come right back. It shouldn't. But you know, yeah. How has everybody been? How have you been, Matt? How's the February
Doing
been treating you?
doing good. We had a house full of sick people, but I dodged catching it. That's why I couldn't do the thing last week. But yeah, it's been good. I'm always
How's
happy to see winter end. I'm not a winter person, so
Well, here in Minnesota, we're having record highs where people were, you know, we had huge ice jamborees and we have these huge fishing tournaments that bring, like 100,000 people to our town of 2,000, and everything had to be canceled. Everything had to be canceled. The ice houses, the ice mazes, the ice sculptured contests, the fish house boat contest, all of it gone because it's too hot.
did you say, do you even have any snow on the ground? Because I heard you guys weren't getting much snow this year.
We don't have any snow on the ground. It's mud, and most of the lakes are like shiny on top. It's
Hmm.
really weird. So I won't complain. I didn't have the best vehicles here for this winter. When my truck went down this fall, I thought no, and I prayed to the weather gods, and apparently they responded. But I don't know what good it'll do us. I feel like Bruce Almighty will probably have tsunamis here in a few weeks. Who
The
knows?
difference, the difference here. Well, we had an ice storm 2 years ago, which had some snow mixed in, but we are in the second long, and I'm happy about this, but we're in the second longest snow drought ever. So we got like over a foot, like I want to say like December 11th, 2018, and that was the last snow over an inch.
Dang, it's so weird. It's such a weird thing. That's okay though. I'll take it. Like I said, as long as they said that there's going to be a bunch of ticks now. I hope that that's not the case, but
Yeah, I
we'll
hope
see.
not either. We got a cold. I always like when, because ran into this up in Pennsylvania. Like if you don't have snowpack, and you get cold weather, it kills them all off. But if you have a lot of snow, the snow insulates it, and so you could have snow and still a whole bunch of ticks. But it's so you want like really really
That's
cold weather
hopeful.
with no snowpack, and that kills them off.
That makes me hopeful, Matt, because we didn't have much snow. And yet, like today, 24 degrees. Tomorrow it's supposed to be like maybe 15 degrees.
Okay,
Ooh, I hope they all freeze and die.
yeah,
Freeze
I
and
don't like
die.
I don't like ticks.
We don't like ticks. That's a whole nother show, conspiracy theory show. But tonight on Astrology and Alchemy, we are going to do our best to cover the next week in the planets, guys, the alchemy and the astrology. And then if we have time at the end for Katie and Steve and Mary and John and Maddie and everybody joining us, we will do our best to pull some tarot cards if we have time. So we did just
Always
have a
have
full
them.
moon.
Always have them with me.
I know, I've got mine right over there. They're within 2 arms reach. I have
It's
to get
just
up.
if you ever hear it, it's like my nervous habit. I even do this in meetings and stuff. I just shuffle. I'll do this with like a deck of cards too. I'll just like shuffle cards just to have my hands do something while we're talking.
With work meetings, you do that too?
Sometimes, yeah.
Classic.
But when I'm at home, yeah, I gotta.
Just
It's like I guess my fidget spinner.
Hmm, 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 hmm. Okay, well, I learned something. I don't know. I'm not the astrology person. I'll be honest. I'm always learning. I feel like I'm always learning. And whenever I prepare for these shows, I kind of write down what my Farmer's Almanac says, what different Cafe Astrology or the planetstoday.com, different places say. Now, February 28th, there's only one thing. And it's not necessarily something that I looked at it and I was like, is that one of those things that maybe Matt and I don't want to mention because I don't even know if I really think I know what it means. But I saw it enough that I thought, you know what? I want to see what this is about. So I'm going to post this in the chat room for those of you joining us live on the YouTube streams or on all of the social media spaces. Saturn Kazemi. It's Kazemi. Cazimi in Pisces. And Cazimi occurs when a planet comes within 1 degree of the sun. So it's when essentially a planet forms conjunctions with the sun. But why is that important? Well, it's kind of one of those, if it's right, just 1 degree, it's like going to intensify. It's going to expand. It's going to be, you know, really kind of blowing up that space, and particularly the sun in Pisces. So this could be when you think about that Saturn, Pisces, Sun, Pisces, 1 degree of each other. This is going to be tomorrow, February 28th. What would you say is the biggest thing to look out for on that?
Well, I'll just take that as a conjunct. And so, Pisces is that introspective last sign of the zodiac. Sun is kind of the outward energy. So I'd say that's kind of like the dominant energy right now is in this space. I would view Saturn, since it's rules and restrictions, as kind of more rules and restrictions around being able to take one for the team or, sacrificing for the greater good. So this alignment with the sun, I would look for changes in rules or some change. It could even be a person kind of stepping aside, falling on their sword, kind of taking one for the team. That's kind of the energy you're going to see tomorrow. So yeah, I'd look for either for the greater good type rule things, even if it might be harmful in the short term, or an individual sacrificing themselves for the greater good.
Man,
I
I
kind of
think
think in
about
the
that.
current political space when everybody seems to be,
Lighting themselves on fire.
lighting themselves on fire, or it always amazes me. I know I always go back to this, but it always amazes me people that get like insulted and attacked and it just absolutely bullied by Trump that then turn around and become like his cheerleaders. So I don't know if it's going to be something like that. I guess it's just the way I'm wired. If anybody, and it's not just specific to him. If anybody insults me, like some of those people are insulted, they'd be like they'd be my enemy for life. I wouldn't turn around and work for them.
You're going to
I'd be
see some
I'd be eating
Indian
rats
trade.
under a bridge before I'd work for somebody that insulted me like that.
Well, and right now a big trending thing is the Wendy Williams, which I never watched the show.
Yeah.
I was never a fan, but that is the trending documentary right now on like Netflix and things. And so watching that psychology, that is somebody who's like being manipulated and abused by their team or their support system. So when I think of the sacrifice, the speaking out to your team mindset, um, even maybe a family unit or your group at work, your group colleagues, maybe you guys have some big thing, and you guys work as a unit. Someone is going to step aside and fall on their sword. Who's it going to be? It's going to be you. It's going to be me. Who's it going to be as you hear that happening? But Mary and a few people in the chat room are sharing how this kind of Pisces space has been pretty wild. People on vacation, jumping off the cruise ship boats. People, I mean, this Pisces season has been emotional. Definitely.
I have a hard time. I have a hard time believing this, but either of these would happen. But I don't know why. I'm thinking the most likely thing would be either Nikki Haley dropping out tomorrow, which I don't see happening, or Biden announcing he's not going to rerun, which I still think will happen. That's one of my predictions before the year. But they're going to. I think the plan is to make that switch as late in the game as possible, and then just install somebody without having them actually go through the nomination process, if they can do that. I don't know exactly what they can and can't do, but rules never seem to get in the way of our politicians from either team. So
what rules? They don't have any rules.
Exactly. So I still I've thought that for a long time that there's just a bait and switch in play here on that front. So I think it'd be too early for that to happen, but I'm thinking it's going to be in the political realm. I know Rona already stepped down, but it's that kind of thing. Although I don't think that's as high profile as what I would expect to happen tomorrow. I think it's going to be a bigger name.
Well, people in the chat room are talking about all the different little reasons and storylines about all the sacrifices and those attitudes of that. Why people do that? Why the Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that day in particular, meaningful um, things, active duty orders, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of political stuff that we do need to be keeping our eye on. The last day in February going to be a day where somebody makes a sacrifice, a sliding out of the picture frame. I'm just going to go
I
ahead and
gotta
make a
give you a
plan for you.
technicality. Second last day in February because it's leap year.
That's right.
We get leap
Say
day.
that's
First
right.
time ever for astrology and alchemy, we get to do a forecast for leap day.
What? And is there going to be anything? Let's see.
I hope
Da da
so.
da da.
I'd be
Da da da
disappointed.
da. Well, I don't have anything written down for it, and so that's kind of why I
Not
didn't
even a
say
moon
anything. That
thing.
makes me sad.
This is one where I'd actually be, even though I don't really like the moon stuff, I'd be happy with a moon
You
just to have
would?
something on leap day.
Um, let's see. Let's see. I'm going to go look specifically on myplanets.com. The Aries zodiac may be bold, nothing shifting in specific. Mm, 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 mm. No,
In my
nothing major
personal
happening
life,
at all.
a year ago tomorrow was my foot surgery that little did I know I thought was going to be lay me up for 4 weeks, and it laid me up until like the middle of May. So
I remember that.
I'll
Do
be
we
happy
remember
this spring
that?
that I can actually walk and enjoy the nice spring weather.
Man, I remember that. It didn't, I mean, it doesn't seem like it was that far ago, but um, where you were upstairs with you were in a different space because you couldn't go up or down.
Yeah, I had to like crawl up the stairs.
Yeah,
I was
yuck.
like, I couldn't do any stairs for I think it was like a week or so. I don't think I was doing any. I forget now. I don't even remember. And then after a while, I could kind of like crawl up and down the steps. I had like a pillow for my knee, and I go boom, boom, boom.
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I'm going to just go ahead and maybe whisper something that we can say is happening, because I'm looking at it and I'm going to say that it is. So I'm going to declare it. When you look at, like, say, for example, theplanetstoday.com, it's going to pull up and you're going to be able to click the arrows left to right and actually see on the dial the planets moving. And one of the things that happens, the moon is still in Libra, nothing there is moving. Uranus, Jupiter still staying, Neptune still staying. Saturn and Mercury are, I mean, so very close to one another. I mean, we have to say they're conjunct. Mercury and Saturn conjunct in Pisces, right behind the sun from that previous day's conjunction with Saturn in Pisces. So Mercury and Saturn conjunct in Pisces on February 29th. Let's go ahead and
Hi,
say that.
Selena. I'm gonna say with the Mercury, it's almost the same thing, but since Mercury's communication, so this is where I'm going to actually put a little wiggle room in our predictions and say that the decision to kind of fall on their sword might come tomorrow, but there's a chance that it might not be widely communicated until Thursday. So keep in mind, this could be one of those things where you start seeing rumors reported and then it becomes official the next day. But very
Just
similar.
later.
I always consider like Mercury, Sun. It's like Mercury's just the communication of what the Sun stuff's doing because they're usually pretty close together. They're usually in the same side or like one apart. Hi,
Mm.
Queen of Cups.
Yay! I love seeing all the new people in the chat room. Welcome, everybody, to Astrology and Alchemy. We are usually here every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central live to talk about the week's astrology. And if we do get through it, we will do some tarot readings. So if you're here for that, you're going to wait till the end, I swear. But it usually does happen, and it's usually pretty fun. You can always catch us on social media, too.
I
So
like when we
February
pull the same
29th,
card, which happens way more often than it's not doesn't happen all the time, but it happens way more often than it should.
statistically, it shouldn't ever
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, it happens more often than it should.
And we don't plan it either, which is,
Yep.
kind of nice. I mean, Chris Angel is a little jealous of that. So Friday, I have one, two things. It's kind of cool. There's actually a lot of little things. I know we oftentimes have our astrologers in house and joining us in the chat room, lurking, and not always down with just that we do the bigger movements, not all the teeny tiny little crawls. There's a lot of little crawling going on March 1st. But for the things that we want to mention, the things that we want to say is big, is that technically March begins that big shift of Pisces season, and it highlights everybody's kind of emotional sides. So we're going into Pisces, traditionally ruled by Jupiter on March 1st. And the first thing is that the sun is sextile Jupiter. And I wrote these down a little differently than usual, guys, because we're adding a little bit of numerology as we do this year. And I want to share, maybe as Matt sees those numbers, or you yourself, maybe you're a numerological person. You see those numbers and you
I'm
go,
not as
ooh.
good. I'm not as good as you are at that. So,
Well, the numbers to me, I think there's, it's part of the math that I love, which there's not a lot of math that I love, but I do love that part. But the number 24 shows itself pretty heavy in this space where you've got the sun in Pisces and that it's sextile Jupiter and Taurus. So, how do you feel about that particular movement?
all right. So I always kind of just break this down. So Jupiter's opportunity, opportunity in again this Pisces, introspective, self-sacrificial, kind of martyrish space, which is kind of a weird. It's kind of a weird combo. Sextile is remove obstacles to. So I'm sorry, that was Sun. I'm sorry, Sun was in Pisces. So again, the Sun in that space, and then Jupiter's opportunity in Taurus, which I always say stable and indulgent. So it's the indulge the senses, but kind of stubborn, not going to move. So I'll take this as this is another kind of fall on your sword thing, but this is like the person that just decides that they're going to stop doing something and they're going to go ahead and relax. And this is like retirement vibes, but
You know what?
it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to be like, end of career retirement. This can be, I'm giving up this thing to go do something else that I enjoy more. That is the vibe that I get from this. So pay attention for that. You may actually see some of it in your workspace of people moving on to something else, or a hobby group, or something some kind of club or volunteer, anything along those lines. Somebody, this is kind of, I'm going to leave something to go do something else that I enjoy more.
Hands up, hands up. I just was recently writing about this concept of not just neglect or avoidance, but like the absolute awareness that you see something, you don't want to be involved in it, and you just put your hands in the air and you just kind of walk away. It means something different than it did generations ago. It's not a surrender, it's a quit. And then it went from quitting to like, yeah, meh. And it's gone from like, it's evolved in these strange little unique emotional strings that we're going to see that on March 1st. You're going to see somebody that goes, you know what? All this sacrificing, all this fighting, all this craziness, all this change, all this shifting, all these people getting married, having babies, divorces, just craziness, all the change. I've had enough.
Mm.
And they're going to put their hands in the air and go on a long vacation or think about moving out of the country. Or when you mention a politician maybe slipping out of the running, that would be an interesting vibe. Now, let's combine it with the one other major thing happening on March 1st. You guys, that's a Friday. What? That's a Friday. And it's kind of hard to look at it in the chat. It's easier when it's more horizontal. But the moon in Scorpio squaring off with Venus in Aquarius. And the numbers are 17 and 10. So if you're someone who's interested in the numerological spaces, Moon and Venus, those planets, in 17 degrees, and Scorpio and Aquarius, 10. And those are kind of interesting numbers. When I think of Venus and sensuality, Moon waning, I never like the Moon in Scorpio. I don't trust it. But what does
I
Matt
didn't
say?
realize this, and I'm not going to be able to speak this as well as some folks in here, because this isn't something that I consider myself to have a lot of expertise in. But I did read that, like, particularly if it's in like your birth chart and stuff, Moon in Scorpio is like a weak position. So it's just found that interesting. I don't know understand all the rationale as to why they say that, but it's interesting. I will say again, Scorpio and Cap, I say, are the two most intense signs. Scorpio's more emotional intensity, Capricorn's cold intensity, but I'll say much like a river where you can't see the currents underneath. what's cooking in a Scorpio is they have a good way of kind of shielding and masking, so you're not necessarily going to see that emotional intensity. Since Moon is all about emotion, I feel that this is, a lot of emotional intensity. Square is conflict. So that is in conflict with Venus, which can be either money or romance, and Aquarius, which is kind of the rebel wanting to, it's kind of outside the box, the curveball, doing things a little differently. So I see this as very interesting as you have this emotional intensity being in conflict with maybe kind of out of the box thinking, kind of non-traditional thinking in either the romance or money space. So I will chalk this all up to Friday's going to be rife for relationship conflict. Tough discussion, tough. Yeah, it's just these will be instances on a Friday night. This could be, dates going awry.
Card declines. And then you're like,
yeah.
can you cover it?
People getting
and they
shot
go,
down. Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
What? You don't have enough money? Well, screw you. What? You just want me for my money? I can see this being if the money and the romance are not on the same page. That lack of harmony might be the conflict causing variable. So like I'm broke right now and I just have to be honest about that with people and say, hey, until I get this or this secured, I'm not in the best place to be going out and spending a bunch of money. And then other people are getting their tax returns back right now and are like in that spending wild space. And it might bring them down that I go, you know what, why don't we just stay in and eat our dill pickle chips? I may not be as romantical or attractive or as fun to hang out with. I may not be the favorite friend on Saturday because of that conflict between Venus and the moon in Scorpio.
Could also be a little bit different of somebody is approaching something differently and that has a very large emotional response. So, whether that's a mix up, trying to mix something up in a relationship or, I don't know, there could be a lot with this, but, and I gotta clarify this. It's probably because I am a Cap. So I am intense, but unemotional. I try to stay like this much emotion, like a very intense emotional sign in a emotional planet or area right now. I personally would stay clear of that. Like that's a minefield in my opinion. I know others, other signs, other personalities could just charge right in and not care about it. I'm speaking specifically for me, but yeah, this is I don't like this position, this aspect at all.
No, it's not. It's not a very great space. And then we're going to add to it. We're going to make it even. I don't want to say worse, but we're going to make it even more delicate and see if we can't. And think about politics, guys. Think about this not just in the micro, but in the macro. So then Saturday, what? Someone in the chat says, and Matt, we think you could be a really great teacher. And I agree. I think that
that's funny. That was my career goal, and I was going that for a very long time. And then I got all the way to my senior year in college and shifted and changed and went to grad school instead.
Really?
I was going to be a chemistry teacher. I don't know if I would have liked it though. In hindsight, I mean, I like teaching, but there's a lot of other stuff that goes with that job that I don't know if I'd enjoy.
Yeah. I'd have to be a college teacher because my dad, every time that I struggle with my career, he's like, yeah, just go be a teacher. I'm like, Dad, you have to go get like a certificate and just because I have a master's degree doesn't mean I can just go be a teacher. And
well, that's what I thought. That was my pivot. I was going to just go and then like the grad school, like undergrad academia. I liked when grad school academia. No.
Their curriculum for teaching is like learning about tests and how to do like polling of kids and stuff.
Well, mine was going for chemistry, but I'm just saying the whole like to be like a professor and that whole environment. At least on the science side, and I hate to say this because obviously this doesn't apply to everybody, but I felt like it was populated with a lot of people that they didn't have the interpersonal skills to ever function in the corporate world. So it was a lot of a lot of just prickly, just personalities that just, and I was just, yeah, it just wasn't for me.
Introverted STEM people. We have a graduate women of science banquet, and it's the quietest women's event I ever go to. And I always take that into account where I hear the silverware and I'm like, how weird. It's almost, I mean, it's all women in here. And you don't hear any gossiping or chit chat or laughter or anything. It's weird. But anyway,
It's like the bad
um,
apple. It's like I just want to clarify that it's like the bad apple thing too, because there were some very great people that I interacted with, but it was like the bad ones were really, really, really bad, and they kind of made the environment horrible for everybody.
the chat room said, man, I wanted to teach high school English, but got divorced instead. I love how life shifts us in random directions because Lord knows I get that. Um, okay, guys, let's refocus. Saturday. It's going to be Saturday, March 2nd. It's going to be the second day of March, and it's going to be Saturday. The moon is waning. It's going to be in Sagittarius. So anytime I think of the moon in a fire sign, I think, oh, good, here we go. Our feelings on fire. But it's waning, so it's kind of, winding down. But it's sextile with Pluto, which Pluto is currently in that sign of Aquarius, and Pluto is that life or death planet that's been rocking us since November. Well, for a while now, and it's going to be a while still because planet moves pretty slowly far out there in the distance. But this is the one that's the huge life transformations that people are experiencing. Matt, what do you think of when you
Yeah,
think of the
so
moon in Sagittarius
always pay
sextile
attention when it's
Pluto?
Pluto because Pluto stuff's big. So again, this is emotion, but Sagittarius is kind of like the explorer. So this is like a sure why not energy, kind of open to new things, trying new things, and eliminating obstacles to Pluto, which is big changes. So you're open to change and you're having big changes. And this Aquarius space is kind of a revolutionary space, um, kind of the wild card, the rebel, the changing things. So this is just a lot of energy of kind of change is coming and there's an openness to change. So just look for, I know this is really, really broad. So I'm not saying, look how accurate my prediction is because I realize that this is really, really broad, but look for something big is going to change and shift on Saturday. This is a pay attention to, whenever it's Pluto, I always say pay attention to news because these are the kind of things that it could be something small. Like I still remember seeing a little blurb, a little tiny blurb about a virus in China, and then little did we know
Mm.
what that was going to lead to. It's that kind of stuff. It might not be
Mhm.
the big news today, but pay attention because something's going to start on Saturday that's going to grow into something big.
Mm. I wonder what it's going to be. Do, 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 do. I'm so excited. Um, when I look on just the planetstoday.com and I'm looking at everything, nothing is conjunct with anything. Everything is making like a backwards C. It's not quite equal or symmetrical, but it's well spaced and heavy on the right side. That's the only thing happening on March 2nd. Now,
I want to
March
add something to
3rd,
what Robin said about, or even Queen of Cups said, ready for some personal change. Robin, let's have a good big change. I agree, but I just want to point again the thing about Pluto,
mm,
and this is about Pluto. This is not, nobody take this personal. Pluto doesn't give a crap. So whether it's going to be a good change or a bad change, it's just going to happen, and we all have to deal with it. That's the
I
interesting
gotta,
thing about Pluto. It's way out there. It's cold. It's just it's going to do what it's going to do, and we all have to deal. But yes, I agree. I hope it is a good change.
I'm hearing a lot of Corey Hart. I wear my sunglasses at night.
I
I'm
care
hearing a
about it
lot of,
being I care about it being a good change, but Pluto doesn't.
yeah, no, Pluto doesn't. And that's because Pluto's been jerked back and forth between being a doggone planet or a rock or a planet or a rock or included or not included. And so, as far as it says this is just going to be the way it is. When my dad today was telling me, yeah, he goes, well, we're sitting out here in Kansas City on the porch and it's 80 degrees and there's going to be snow on Wednesday and we haven't had this since 1860 something. And I thought, ooh, Pluto's a moving. Even the climate change is really out there. So, man, I really appreciate seeing some of those patterns. It really lets us know we're connected. March 3rd, this is Sunday, right? Is that Sunday? Let me check. Yeah, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's the first Sunday of March. We're waking up. It's Pisces season. We're feeling emotional. We're still emotional. But what else is happening? I've got two things. I'm sorry, guys, that it clicked twice. I don't know why that happened. In the chat, if you're joining us on YouTube or on social media, you might see that post twice. I didn't mean to. But March 3rd, there's one, two, three, four things that I have written down. Really, two of them are the same thing, but we'll give credence to it anyway. That 4:11 in the morning, the moon still waning, still getting smaller, still getting dimmer in the sky like a little fingernail. The moon in Sagittarius is going to square off with Saturn in Pisces. That's the first thing to happen early Sunday morning before any of us are probably awake. What do you feel for the expectations of that energy?
So again, this is that take one for the team kind of rules changing, and this is kind of the emotional pushback of, you might want to sacrifice, but I don't want to sacrifice. How does this impact me? So this is the kind of pushback from the people that are going to be affected by that take one for the team energy that don't want to take one for the team. So that would be a little bit of a pushback vibe on Sunday.
Resistance,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe ones that you feel, in your heart space more than anything, because it could be, I think about how I just moved to a new space. I think about how we're kind of changing our co-parenting dynamic. And it requires more independence from my children. And I see my children's personality changing a little bit because of that. So I have to give some pushback, and it's emotional for me, but those rules and those boundaries, Saturn changing, it's something that we all have to check in with. So I can already see how this is going to be affected in my life. What do we think, like politically or on a bigger scale?
Yeah, well, I think there's going to be, from whatever happens later in the week, or maybe even the big thing on Saturday, the big change, there's going to be this blowback. Um, I kind of view it as kind of like a what about me energy. So, this thing happens and it's supposed to be really good. And, some group or some person is going to speak up and say, hey, this isn't going to be all that good. This is going to have this downside. And so, yeah, there's going to be a pushback on Saturday or
Yeah, the
Sunday.
Air Force is still sending its active duty members to Gaza to assist in Israel airstrikes. How do we feel about that? What? Even after people set themselves on fire? Yeah. We're in a contract, guys. Money, 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 money. And so I feel like, oh man, this is a Sunday though. So I take into account that it is a Sunday, but let's add on another level, right? The psychic predictions
Well,
and
remember, just real quick, when you
conversations.
said the politics thing, remember Sundays when they do all the politics shows. So that's when
That's
somebody's going
right.
to have the soapbox to go ahead and tee something up
Tucker
there.
Carlson or Roseanne or somebody's going to say something funny or scary or crazy or Tucker Carlson. I haven't seen it. I haven't watched it yet because I haven't really been in on that space. Somebody sent it to me today, and I have yet to check in on it about on a recent show sharing video still shots of a 2010 Bohemian Grove ceremony that included politicians that we know today are in office.
Hmm.
And I just thought, oh man, here I go down this wormhole again because it always surfaces every few
Yeah,
years.
and I'd
But
worry. I'd worry about AI with that stuff now.
wild,
There's some pretty
wild and
realistic
weird.
pictures you can do. Like, I still worry that's going to be the thing. Like the next election cycle, we're going to have to worry about even greater what's
We,
real and
sh-
what's not.
we should be worried about it now. We should
Yeah. Oh,
really.
I agree. I agree. It's only going to get worse though.
Yeah, it's getting worse. Oh man, I can't believe you said that. That makes me sad. Yeah, so then let's add in that final step of Venus, which is an Aquarius, that air sign that's pouring out all the vodka, but why is all the rum gone? Venus squaring off with Uranus in Taurus.
So this is the Uranus Taurus. It's been in there for since we've ever done the show, and I'll be in there for a while yet. It's another slow mover, so it's a weird one because Uranus is kind of the rebel, kind of like Aquarius, but Taurus is stable and indulgent. So I always say this is rebelling by not doing. So it's not doing something you normally would do. Venus, we've already covered, is romance. It's in that or money. It's in that Aquarius space, which is weird. It should sync with Uranus. So it's this weird piece of. I'm going to almost take this as if you think of like a couple. It's the hey, let's go out and do something fun, and the other one just wants to sit sit on the sofa and like watch TV, and so it's that conflict over, let's do something different, let's spice things up versus I don't, not only do I not want to do anything different or spice things up, I don't even want to like hang out with you today. That's the kind of conflict there.
So I know we had our issues on Friday, and I know that the card declined, and I know that we had our big argument. How about we meet back up on Sunday and end the weekend on a good note?
Because rebelling by not doing. So it's like,
I
not
don't
only am I
know.
not going to
Yeah.
do this with you, but I'm not going to do anything at all.
I don't think so. I think I'm busy, or they just don't answer, or
Mm-hmm.
something that you're loving. I recently applied one of my friends for a podcast with Theo Vaughn, the comedian. um, things that I'm really chasing, things that I love, things that I want to work around, and then they're upset at me about it. It's going to come back around on Sunday. They're going to still be upset, but they're going to be crossing their hands and feet and arms and toes about it.
I wanted
So,
I want to share real quick with the AI thing, and actually, I think it's bad. I think I actually shared it to like try to troll people and stuff. But I saw this one where they're like, "There's another sign about how awful things are going. This is a satanic parade in New York City," and they had like kids and floats, and it was all AI, but it looked real.
yeah.
But it was, yeah, they had these like big like Baphomet like floats, and little kids with like horns and running around, and yeah, that's how it was portrayed. It was portrayed as this you know evil thing
There
that
was
evil New York City is sponsoring kind of thing, and it was all fake.
there was a false news this morning of Disneyland's Princess Tower catching fire.
Yeah, I've seen that too. And there's
Saw
like pictures
that?
of it. There's pictures of it in flames, and it's all
It
fake.
looks real, a video of
Yeah,
people walking
yeah.
around in the smoke and the things. And then Disney had stated on their Twitter, or their X, sorry, previously known as Twitter, that like these kinds of things really damage their sales and worry
Hmm.
and stress out families who are making their
Hmm.
once in a lifetime vacation trip
Hmm.
to the Princess fucking Tower. Pardon my ebonics. And dang, how do we know what's real or what's not with AI? I know with a lot of the words and stuff, you can put it into an AI check site and it tells you if AI was involved.
Okay.
But I think when you're right clicking on the data provided by like the metadata in an image, I don't know enough to know like if AI can alter that, because if you can code your AI and say, "Hey, do this in my language," and make sure that the metadata posts as a real picture, that this is to be as real as possible from front door to back door, then I'm pretty sure that your chat GPT would do it.
Hmm.
Scary,
I
scary, scary,
never would
scary,
have thought when
scary.
that movie came out, and again, I'm not saying the whole thing because there's other plot parts of this that I wouldn't get, that Terminator would be possibly the most realistic horror movie with the whole Skynet thing, but it really looks like the Skynet thing's possible.
I know.
It's scary.
I know. It is scary.
It is
I
scary.
only
Like
laughed.
that seems
I only
so
laughed.
far fetched when that came out, and now looking at it going, damn, like that actually could happen.
It actually could happen. And I hate that my emotional response, guys, is sometimes to laugh, but even for me professionally, I work in sex offense and forensics, and we're struggling with AI because you can utilize AI to upload the likeness of, say, an ex-girlfriend, her face,
Mm.
her language structure, her mannerisms. And like Joaquin Phoenix, you can build a robot girlfriend and customize them for as little as $450. And then you can do whatever you want with said robot. Um, and That seems like quite an invasion of privacy. It seems like a level of desensitization and conditioning in a weird, intimate way that just, if you thought somebody had a doll of you with your voice and your language and a little Teddy Ruxpin sex doll of you
Hmm.
without your permission, what does that do to a person's intimacy? And for probation, what is that something we're okay with for people who are struggling with like rape and other things? And it's really a debated thing. AI is, you can pay it to chat with you. So it's a big
Hmm.
struggle. It's a struggle, but it's one that's I'm terribly interested in it as well. Okay, so let us cruise on the last thing, very last thing to happen on Sunday night.
Oh, geez, there's still something on Sunday.
Just one thing, yeah. So I want to put this in there. Sunday night, March 3rd at 9:58 p.m. Jupiter, semi-square with Neptune. So we know Jupiter's in Taurus, Neptune, and Pisces. How do we feel about that energy? What does that tell us we should maybe look out for?
Well, I usually don't do the semi squares. Uh,
It was
so
Neptune that spooked me.
yeah, so I don't want to misspeak on this one because I usually don't pay attention. So this is more like the fine tuning type stuff. So I'm going to speak more general about just um, what's Jupiter in again?
Jupiter is in Taurus.
Taurus. Okay. Yeah. So Taurus Pisces interaction. I
Your
view this
fantasies of the
as
future.
particularly with your Neptune kind of going down the rabbit hole and kind of detaching from reality. I see this as a real people kind of flaking out on their responsibilities. At least it's on a Sunday night, but yeah, I view this as, and I think my kids just came home, so get ready for dogs. I'll mute. But yeah, I view this as that whole like rebellion thing combined with the whole introspection. See, told you. I
Yep,
see that as people are gonna not do what they're supposed to do. They're just gonna like flake out.
I love it.
Gee,
Well,
I
and I think of
overslept. Gee, I just didn't think of it.
a
It just
long
whatever. It's gonna be.
weekend.
It's like a
Yeah,
flaky energy.
couldn't make it. I couldn't make it. That fine, when you say fine tuning over, I think of addictions, delusions. I think of all of this life change that people are going through in these transformative Pluto shifts. That, like, if you're like, well, you know what, now that I'm here, I'm going to do this, this, and this, that, like, be careful because those people you might be dependent upon in your system, um, Sunday night, they're not going to show. Like you said, they're going to kind of flake out on you. So don't take it personally. It's the vibe. You might even flake out on yourself. So don't take that personally either. I utilize astrology as a self check in too. It's really important to go, yeah, I guess not going to do that. You don't have to if you don't want to and if it doesn't serve a purpose. But just take that moment also to check in with yourself if you're like, man, why am I so not motivated to do anything? It could be that you're just really in tune with the astrology. You're kind of on autopilot and you're just riding the waves that are around. Monday, 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 March 4th. And two things I have happening. So let's do the first one. Boo, 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 boo. And oh no, it's another Neptune moment. And you guys, the reason I go, oh no, when I think Neptune is because I work in social work. Like I said, working in forensics, working with people in crisis, working in probations, people slipping up and killing people. And it usually happens that those overdoses, those suicide calls, those violations, those slip ups happen when Neptune um, does something. Neptune in Pisces moves, shifts, ripples. And so when I see that on Monday morning, we wake up, we rub our eyes, and what's going on out there? The moon is squaring off with Neptune.
And this is a bad one because Sagittarius is the explorer. So you have that emotional exploring space, and it's going to be in conflict with Neptune and Pisces. So I feel it's like kind of like, sure, why not? I'm going to go ahead and try something, and it's going to work out really bad. So yeah, I see this as kind of the this is. I know you mentioned this a lot with Neptune, but I definitely see this as like overdose um, energy,
Burning out too.
or first time trying something and it goes really really bad.
Overdose, burn out, overboard. All of these words that play on going over, because you have the moon on fire in Sagittarius. So your feelings are on fire. You're already very emotional. It's Pisces season, so it's been a shit show. And then Neptune going, yeah, yeah, I feel fantastical.
Mm.
Let's see. And then later in the evening, so then this gives us a little bit more insight into, okay, well, then what happens if we don't step in, if we don't get any kind of mediation, if we don't have someone or a plan to keep ourselves in check for Monday, that we don't try and overwork ourselves for all the stuff we didn't do on Sunday when we were feeling lazy. That moderation will go manic. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't go manic. Instead, the moon waning, still waning. It's going to go into an earth sign by the evening. It's going to go into Capricorn. It's going to go over there with Matt, cold blooded.
This is bad.
And it's trine with Jupiter and Taurus, which is also cold, earth, stubborn. And
Yeah,
Jupiter is all opportunity.
but think of what I just said about the earlier one about Sagittarius is like, sure, why not? I'll try it with this like introspective. And now you're going to take your emotion in Jupiter, which is opportunity, in Taurus, which is to indulge. So the opportunity to indulge. And trying is synergy with your emotions in Capricorn, which is all about achievement and driving and doing things. So now I'm going to be motivated to indulge in something at the same time that we have this energy of, sure, I'll try something new in this very delusional space that, because it's square, is going to end very badly. So this is just people indulging in things that end really, really poorly. And I know I initially went to like the whole substance abuse thing, but this can be lots of different things. This can, but it's indulging in things that are going to hurt you, harm you. A lot of people are going to get hurt on Monday.
Well, yeah. Monday. Monday, a lot of people are going to probably struggle a little bit with the weekend that they've had and how things kind of come into play. Emotionally, it's going to have gone cold. It's going to go from being wild and emotional and invested and passionate to just suddenly cold. And that just kind of seems wild. Um, and believe it or not, guys, that brings us to Tuesday, which I actually don't have anything listed for on the astrological movements. There's no major astrological movements for Tuesday. Nothing is conjunct and nothing is conflicting too much. So maybe we'll just take that.
All right.
No major movements. So then when you're looking at the week as a whole, as a total, what do you say are the thoughts, the feedback, the conclusion? What should we have in our
Look,
minds for this
look for
week?
something news wise that's going to be significant on Saturday. There's going to be a lot of sacrifice, people giving things up this week. Either it's retiring or giving up something to go do something else, along with that kind of sacrificial following your sword piece. So yeah, I think there's going to be a lot. This is going to be a week of changes, and I think it's going to be a lot of interpersonal changes, people changing roles, people walking away from things. Yeah, that's probably it. Walking away. You're going to see a lot of that this week. People walking
Walking
away from
away.
stuff.
Walking away. Okay. I've got this written down for those people in the Gypsy tribe and those people who keep kind of in close contact with me or who get readings from me often. I often send out my weekly stuff for you guys. So I've got that heading out. And you know what? It includes all of the really cool updates that people share in these chats. So for all of you guys that chime in. We really, really appreciate it because even though we prep for this, there's always new things that we learn. There's always often sometimes an astrologer in the chat that's like, hey, don't forget this. And that's the kind of stuff that we want. We want to help each other use the space to stay connected. So we've got about 5 more minutes. Should I reach over and grab my tarot deck and see if we shouldn't
Sure.
pull one for the week? Okay.
We'll pull one
If
for the
there's,
week, and then we'll see. I don't know. We might run out of time, but we might be able to do one or two for somebody.
okay, let me grab my deck right here. I've got it. And I'm using my, what's it called? The Mystical Medley Tour. It always makes me want to break out into the Beatles. But it's actually like Looney Tunes. It's really fun, old kind of Betty Boop style cartoon. And it's kind of satire art, which I really like. So this is usually shuffled as I put them away, but I'm going to continue to shuffle it a little bit. And then Matt, don't forget, people, if you want a private reading, if you want a tarot reading, if you want one from Matt, from both of us, reach out, let us know. We'll make something work for you, especially for all this Pluto transformative stuff. All right.
Mine's not making the week feel any better.
Me neither.
Tower.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Both
Yes.
major arcana.
Tower, sudden, unexpected, earth-shattering change.
Shit. The Tower is the card you want to get the least. It's not death,
Yeah.
actually,
Yeah.
guys. It's
Tower's the
probably
worst one.
the Tower for the week.
That
And then
that
I got
means that so now I view that as like people, and again, this doesn't apply to everybody, but it's some folks, people getting blindsided by the person you rely on the most in some role, like leaving.
mm, mm,
Like you
mm,
have a
mm.
huge project and you have like a tight deadline, and there's two of you working on it, and the one person just like quits like halfway through it, and now it's like all on you, and you're not going to get help.
Gosh dang it. Don't
You
even
just got
say
to
that.
figure it out.
Just got to figure it out. I guess
It's
we'll
that
just
kind
be
of
here.
stuff.
It's that kind of stuff. All right. Is there anyone in the chat room who would like for us to pull you a card before we wrap up this evening's show? All you have to do is give us permission because it's extremely important, I think, in any time you're doing divination, that we have that moment where we're going to go ahead and ask permission and you're going to give consent. So, Matt, if you see anybody popping up there, I can view a little
Don't
bit
see
of the
anybody,
YouTube.
don't see
I
anybody
know.
popping up, so we may be ending a little early.
And then early, well, I know that I do have one request from Steve and Katie, who are
Oh,
always
cool.
listening in and usually always want a card. So we can end with one for our longtime listeners. And Selena. Oh, and then the Queen of Cups. Look at it. Boom, boom, boom.
All right, we
Okay,
got three. We got three. We can bang these out.
let's bang them out. Here we go. So, Steve and Katie, if you are listening in, I know you are. Boom. Ooh.
Ace of Wands.
Ooh. I
Yeah,
have the
you
strength.
got a good one then, because strength is good, and then Ace of Wands is a new start to do something new. It's action oriented. Yeah,
Yeah. The Ace of Wands was what I pulled for myself today, and it read that it's that mustard seed of action and behavior change. It's the change you want to see in the world. And I thought, yes. And strength, major strength, keeping that diligence and endurance. Okay, Selena
think of
Granger.
your think of your question, Selena.
Mm,
I'm pulling majors a lot. The
me
Fool.
too. I got Justice.
So Fool, new start. So whatever it is, it's brand new start from my end, and then let you do your justice.
Justice between the two pillars. You've got hoping that you have that moderation of good, bad, right, wrong, hot, cold, up, down, and that the justice is going to be serving the past, present, and future for all of those things. And these are major things, Selena. So that suggestion that this might be the first time you're walking into a new space. So take some time to get two perspectives, two pieces of insight, and look from two places before you make any major changes.
All right, Queen
Queen
of
of
Cups
Cups.
next. One of my favorite cards.
Hmm.
Ooh, streak of Ten of Wands, the card of burden.
And the Page of Swords, the intern of fighting.
And I always take Page of Swords as like a message, and since Swords is ideas, I would say that you're going to get a message that's going to be in the realm of thoughts or ideas, and you're going to find it somewhat
Annoying,
burdensome.
condescending,
Not
frustrating,
necessarily bad,
stressful.
but it's going to have weight to it.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think I want to renovate that closet. Let's not do that this time. What? It's kind of this like, you know what? I have insight here and I'm going to speak on this. I would say definitely speak your insight that you have on it, Queen of Cups, because you know what you need in this space.
All right, we got one left.
Alea, Alea Griffith. Is that how you say that name? That's beautiful. Alea.
Yeah,
Alea.
I'm not. That's how I would pronounce it, but if we're saying it wrong, I apologize.
I love it. Alea. Okay, here we go. Boom.
Queen of Wands.
Oh, yeah, this one's not any better. The
Ooh.
Nine of Swords, which we say that because, right, the Queen of Wands, the feminine matriarch of fighting and arguing and debating, and the silver tongued widowed woman, independent woman.
No, that's Swords.
And what do you have? Your wands?
I have Wands.
Oh, okay, totally different. So
Yeah.
Alea of fire, the woman of fire. So I wonder if okay, so the 9 of swords, you're losing sleep about something, you're really stressed about something, you're waking up in the middle of the night because you're anticipating that something's going to happen really bad. But the truth is, I would turn to the matriarch space. I would turn to what do you think? What do you think when you
Yeah, well,
hear that?
I take this, and I could be wrong, but since that's the court cards tend to represent people, and so since I'm assuming, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm assuming you're a woman. I'm gonna say that my card represents you, and since it's wands, that is action, activity. So something you are working on is troubling you, which is the Nine of Swords piece, but it doesn't mean it's not the Ten of Swords, which is defeat. It just means that it is troubling. So
Mm-hmm.
there's weight
Worrisome.
to whatever you're doing, but that's not necessarily a bad thing.
That Queen of Wands, I always think of a not Lagatha in the Game of Thrones, but the woman who goes out and really does and does things and really gets things done without having to fight or use her words. She just does them.
Mm-hmm.
A very powerful matriarch vibe. Um, I love that.
Yeah, it's a
I love
doer.
that.
It's not a disruptive person. Just like you said, a doer. They
Yeah,
just
do
get
her.
crap done.
She's just going to go out there and get it done. I love that. Man, you guys, great readings. If you guys want more, if you want a full reading, a full spread that can be anywhere from 3 to 20 cards, just reach out and let us know. Let us know what your budget is. We'll work with you and we'll let you know what we have going on for March specials. You guys, we really love it when you tune in each week. We know that the last few weeks we've been kind of in and out with business and pleasure, but we do hope you'll join us and continue to tune in. The Astrology and Alchemy, it's a passion for Matt and I, and we love seeing you guys join us for what to expect on the week ahead.
All right,
Yeah.
y'all. Have a great week. We will talk soon. See ya.